third week of the legislative session. I'm in a conference room on the 5th floor of the state office building. My office is right outside the doors on either side of the back of the conference room. And I'll talk to you a little bit about a bill I'm having heard. But first I'm going to touch on the governor's budget. On Tuesday, the governor released his budget publicly. We were able to have a quick briefing right before it went public, and then had an opportunity to hear from the governor himself in caucus. And I understand he also went to the Republican caucus and gave them an opportunity to ask questions and hear straight from the governor why he proposed what he did. The budget that he's proposed contains tax reform, which I think I mentioned before was something we had been expecting. It's quite a comprehensive tax reform. It will affect sales tax, income tax, and property tax, and actually takes a regressive tax system that we currently have in the state and makes it a little bit less regressive. I would say there's some complaint that it hasn't become progressive, but I think that the governor thinks he did the best he could given the input he had in this state that we are in our economy right now. So just a couple of the highlights. The first thing we heard from the governor was not just that he's reforming the tax codes and the taxes system in our state, but what his priorities were. And I was very excited to see that the governor had prioritized early childhood and child care at the top of the list. He's touched on K-12 and wanting to add some money to the formula in K-12, and also pay back that school shift, which has been an issue that many of us have been interested in seeing. And it may not happen in 2 years, but over the next 2 biennium, should his budget pass. He also talked about tuition assistance for college students. So he's going to increase the grants for college students, which will be very beneficial. He has a couple of interesting proposals that will kind of jumpstart jobs again, which will help our economy right now, and I know people are interested in those. One of them are some additional funds to go to the Southern Minnesota Institute Foundation and other MIFs, as they're called, across the state. Our local one, many of you know, is the director is Tim Penny, and he does some great work supporting local businesses in our part of the state, and the MIFs around the state do the same thing in their area. So those are just a couple things that the governor talked about, but I think the message was we're going to do what we're going to do because we want to be able to fund our priorities. So after that, we learned that the tax code changes include an up to $500 credit for homeowners on property taxes, and that was some property tax relief that I certainly heard and others heard throughout the last couple of years. People are tired of the increases, the shift from state to local property taxes, and so that was the first part of his budget. Changes in sales tax. We've been hearing for years from committee after committee that the governor's had, our past governor, Governor Plenty, actually had 2 commissions that studied this and said we need to broaden the base of our sales tax, and then we need to lower the rate. And that's exactly what the governor's budget does. So I was very pleased to see him consider this. The one controversial component, of course, is the addition of the clothing tax, because that is seen as very regressive by many people. And so to that end, the governor has suggested that perhaps items that are under $100 would not be taxed. So it would only be clothing items that are over $100 that sales tax would affect. And in exchange, the tax rate will go down from over 6.5%, as it currently is, down to 5.5%. So we would all see the benefits of that on all of our purchases, on purchases of hard goods as well as services. So that was another component to the governor's the tax bill. And of course, as everyone expected, the governor is holding true to his campaign position, which was the top 2% will have an increase in taxes. So I believe the proposal is couples making over taxable income of $250,000. That isn't your take home, that's just what's taxable. That there would be an additional tax for anything over that $250,000 or $150,000 for an individual. So those are just a couple of the components. I believe he discussed a cigarette tax to fund some health initiatives, the statewide health improvement plan. And so those are just a couple of components of the bill, and I have to read it more carefully, and we have to hear more and see those bills as they roll through the committee structure in the coming months. So it's a start, not a finish. A lot of work to do in the area of tax reform, and hopefully I'll be part of that discussion. I also just mentioned earlier that I wanted to let you know I do have a bill up tomorrow in the afternoon at 12:30. I'll be the first bill on the agenda in the Elections Committee, and it will deal with the situation Rochester found itself in during the last election cycle when our city council president died just after the closing of filing deadline, and we were unable to reopen that seat for further people to file and then have a general election. So this bill will take care of that change that had occurred kind of, I would say almost accidentally in the last couple of years. But it was a new change that caused an effect on the city of Rochester that has allowed us to step forward and help other parts of the state should they find themselves in the same situation. So that bill will be heard tomorrow, and I'll let you know how that goes after the hearing. Until next time.